Let's, of course, start off with a bit of a mea culpa for me because I said in the last episode I'll probably be talking about Ben Johnson becoming the head coach of the Raiders when we talk on Wednesday. And good for Ben Johnson. He did become a head coach, but not for the Raiders, for the Chicago Bears, which I think is just a really great move for the Chicago Bears. So let's just like break down a little bit of what the Bears are getting here with Ben Johnson. So he was the offensive coordinator, of course, for the Detroit Lions. The Lions were second in total yards this season. They were second in passing yards per game. They were sixth in rushing yards per game and first in points with 33.2 points per game. And what's that really gonna be like a big deal for the Chicago Bears is the Bears averaged 18.2 points per game. They were bottom half, not even bottom quarter of the league in points per game this season. They have a young quarterback in Caleb Williams who they really want to invest in. They think his physical tools, his mental acumen will allow him to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But in order to do that, they need a head coach who can unlock all the potential for Caleb Williams. And I really think like when I had heard that the Bears were looking for a head coach, it seemed like a no-brainer. It seemed almost like an open secret that Ben Johnson was the favorite, was the one coveted by ownership in Chicago. But as time went on and other rumors came out, I mean, I bought into the Raiders as a potential dark horse. Maybe I let the positive commentary of Tom Brady in the playoff game of Washington versus Detroit cloud my judgment. But I guess, as most of us thought, Ben Johnson did end up going to Chicago Bears. And, I eagerly await who he adds around him and what kind of offseason moves that they make because the Bears were 4-2 at one point this season before that Hail Mary knocked them against the Commanders, knocked them basically for a loop. And they essentially spiraled out over the course of the season. I think this is a team that has a lot of talent, and if they have an innovative coordinator, much in the same way as Mike McDaniel went to Miami and unlocked Tua's true potential and allowed him to lead the league in passing yards, completion percentage, quarterback rating. I think a very similar thing can happen here for Chicago, can happen here for Caleb Williams, and this was the right move. I mean, it's never going to be ideal. We have a quarterback who is drafted under an old regime. A lot of times head coaches like to come in and have all their own guys, but I would imagine that kind of a prerequisite to signing up for the Bears is, hey, we need you to invest heavily into Caleb Williams. We think he can be a star. We think that he can potentially lead our team to the promised land. So, all in all, I think this is a great move for Chicago. I think Chicago fans have to be extremely excited. They got their guy because if it wasn't Ben Johnson, I really don't know who they would have gotten. Maybe Aaron Glenn from also Detroit, but there's like that fear, that specter of Mike McCarthy potentially hanging over Bears fans, where it's like, oh, great. He is no longer with the Cowboys. It would be a very Chicago Bears thing to reject the younger, perhaps more in demand name in Ben Johnson and go with someone who's had success, but, other than one time, hasn't really been able to get over the hump in the playoffs, even with Aaron Rodgers, even with, Dak Prescott. Granted, he has the same types of commentary about him. So, very good move for the Bears. If you're a Bears fan, I would love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments.